Well, Terry Fenwick's with us now. Terry, let's look back on the FA Cup run, 1981-82. First of all, 40 years ago. It just seems like yesterday. It's amazing that time's passed, isn't it?
Incredible, isn't it? 40 years, my God. When I look back, obviously played with some fabulous players at that time, some great characters in the dressing room. But that time's just flown over. I can't believe it's been that long, 40 years. Every time I turn on QPR and I check up to see where the results are, where we are, what we're doing. It is a shock that it's as long as 40 years ago when we were in the cup final.
So let's go through it. We started off, we were drawn away to, we were drawn at home to Middlesbrough, and then we had an away replay. And they were in the first division, we were in the second division. So we're drawn at home, FA Cup third round. No one really gave us a chance of even winning that game, did they?
That's right, yeah. They were a good side at the time. I think that was they were under Jack Charlton at that period, I think, Middlesbrough. Very strong, defensively tough, hard to beat. They had some great results in the Division 1 at that time. So yes, it was a shock to them, certainly. But to be fair, we had a great squad, and Terry put together not just a great squad of players, but the team, the tactics, the whole feeling and spirit within Queen's Park Rangers at that time was phenomenal.
So we were 1-0 down against Middlesbrough. Simon Stainrod equalised. We had to go up there in midweek for the replay. I think we fell behind. Simon Stainrod scored a couple. Warren Neal got the winner with a diving header in extra time. That was a great win up there, wasn't it?
Fabulous win up there. Ayresome Park, not an easy place to go to. I'm from the northeast of England myself, Seaham Harbour, just south of Sunderland. So Middlesbrough, always a team that I recognise across the board, how many top players that they've had, top managers. And it was a difficult game, particularly after drawing at home. That was a hard journey up there to Middlesbrough. To come away with a win that night was fantastic.
Absolutely. Then it was on to Blackpool in the next round. We were drawn away. I don't know if you can remember it. It was 0-0, really bad, windy weather. We were lucky to actually get a draw. I think they missed quite a few chances. Yes,
that's right. Yeah, I remember the goal kicks. Hooks couldn't get it outside the penalty area. Kept on coming back at him. Again, not an easy place, and when the wind blows up there, mate, God, it takes you off your feet. So that was up against the elements, hard place to go to, and it was just about getting a result of some sort, which we did, thank God, and we went from strength to strength from there.
Yeah, we took them back to Loftus Road for the replay, and we did the job 5-1. Clive Allen scored 4 goals. Simon Stainrod from the penalty spot. I mean, they were 2 great strikers, weren't they?
Yeah, good partnership, very different players. Clive, today, I still believe he's the best finisher I've ever played with. And that's counting the Gary Linekers. Both feet, great in the air, can manipulate the ball. Probably didn't have that same pace, that speed of Lineker, but what a finisher. I mean, top player.
So then on to the 5th round, we were drawn at home to Grimsby, a 3-1 victory, and that was quite comfortable from what I remember. And we were on a roll by this stage, weren't we? The confidence must have been flowing.
Yeah, well, I think that was it. We'd had tough games before that, and we saw Grimsby as almost a breath of fresh air, a good opportunity to get to the next round. And I thought we delivered, we didn't take it lightly, we didn't take them for granted, but we delivered fairly easily on that game, I thought.
Now, do you remember in those days, Terry, the excitement was building, and they used to have the cup draws on a Monday on the radio. Do you remember going in after training and listening to the cup draws live?
I can't remember that, mate. That's 40 years ago.
Radio 2 it was. But we were drawn at home in the quarterfinals against Crystal Palace, and for a number of you, it was your old club. So this was a really big game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a big game. Yeah, you're right. My transfer from Crystal Palace to Queen's Park Rangers, that was the same as the move with Terry Venables from Crystal Palace to QPR. And my God, I'll look back at John Berridge. I'll look back at Mike Flanagan that came with us. Clive Allen, of course, went in and out of Crystal Palace. I had some fabulous years there. We won the FA Youth Cup 2 consecutive years. I scored the winning and only goal in both games, Youth Cup finals. So we had a terrific team. That was the Crystal Palace team of the 80s, remember? Vince Hilaire, Billy Gilbert, Peter Nicholas, Kenny Sanson. My God, we had some fabulous players down there. And I've got to hold my hands out. I think one of the best coaches I've ever played under, John Cartwright. What a talent. And that was all because in the early stages, Malcolm Allison was the manager at Crystal Palace. He'd done a wonderful job there, bringing Terry in, bringing John Cartwright in, and gleaned some of the best talent from around England.
So that game, I don't know how much you can remember, it was a really tight game, chances,
Yes.
Half chances at both ends, and then a couple of minutes to go, we get a corner, Clive Allen scores, and it was just mayhem, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you're quite right. This was a tough game. They were a good side as well. Plenty of experience in there. They'd just been relegated from Division 1, I believe. So we knew going into this game, and particularly the guys that had been at Crystal Palace, we knew all about them, but they also knew all about us. So it was a tough game going into it. It was very tight throughout the game. Nip and tuck, nobody was giving anything away. And fortunately enough for us, again, Clive, brilliant, goal poacher, got the goal that we needed.
Do you remember his celebration after he scored at the loft end? He ran 100 yards down the pitch and celebrated in front of the Palace fans. Do you remember that?
That's right, yes, yeah. Well, of course, I mean, when you think back, Clive, God bless him, Crystal Palace, Queen's Park Rangers, Arsenal in amongst that. It was for a very young career, he'd had 2 or 3 moves already, and it was a difficult period in his life, I think. And I've got a great story to tell you when we actually got to the final itself, the cup final, about Clive. Great player, very emotional player, which I'll come to later on. But anything in and around the box, he put it away. He was top class.
Okay, what about yourself? I mean, you were a very versatile player. You could play right back, you could play centre half, you could play centre midfield, and in every position, you really gave 100%, didn't you?
Well, I love Terry Venables. My mentor and still a good friend. Again, that was down to John Cartwright and Terry back at Crystal Palace. I played all over the place. I played up on the left-hand side. I played up on the right-hand side. I played centre-back, centre midfield. If we were struggling for a position, Terry was your boy, step in there and do a job. And I remember when I came initially to Queen's Park Rangers, I started off, my first game was against West Ham. I played centre midfield and looked after Trevor Brooking, a game that we won 1-0 that day. But versatile, I think I could do both jobs. I was not bad getting forward. I scored a few goals for Rangers over the years. And but defensively, I thought I read the game well. Good voice at the back, kept everybody together. Very regimental. We were tough to beat. I remember the old Bobby Campbell.
That's right, the coach, yeah.
He used to call us the mean machine. Defensively, we give nothing away. But them were the days.
And of course, you made a number of appearances for England as a QPR player, didn't you? I mean, that was a great honour for the club and for yourself.
Yeah, I made all 20 appearances, England appearances, whilst I was at Queen's Park Rangers. And that just shows you where we were as a club, I think. I made my debut while we were still in the old second division before we went up. And then I believe when we were promoted, we were 3 out of 5 years, we were top London club under Terry. We'd done some really good stuff. We were hard to beat, home and away. We had the plastic surface, which people found difficult to play on, and it was tough to play on, but it learnt you the game. You had to stay on your feet. You had to be good on the ball. You had to be able to pass the ball. And I thought it really sharpened a lot of our players up, because when you look over the track record that we had, not just at home, we had fabulous results away from home because of that, I think, technique.
How good was Terry Venables? Because I thought that he used to think about the game, study the game, and he was years ahead of that period, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. I think he was the best. Loved Terry to death. Had him at Palace, then Queen's Park Rangers. I was absolutely choked when they didn't give him enough time with England, because that Euro 96 was a fabulous squad. We were unfortunate. We should have gone through, should have beat the Germans. But they then went from, I think Terry was earning £140,000 at that time. And they changed it up and brought in Glenn Hoddle just over £1 million contract, which I found astonishing, because Terry was the best in Britain at that time. Possibly the world. He had his stint at Barcelona, done great, got to the Champions League, European Cup final at the time. But Terry was great coach, great tactician, and a great man manager. It's not often you have all of them things come together. I played for England under Bobby Robson, and Bobby, to be fair to him, wasn't the best coach in the world. He wasn't anywhere close to Terry Venables, but he was a top man manager. He got the best out of you because everybody loved him, and you'd put your life on the line for him, and that's how he got his results. And I'm sure along the way, a period of time, the 20 caps that I earned with him over that period, I learned a lot about him and a lot about management at that time, and more so loved Terry because I realised what quality he was.
Okay, let's move on with the FA Cup now. In the semi-final, we had a big game against West Brom. Again, they were in the top division at Highbury. It was being played at Highbury. All the build-up was about Cyril Regis, wasn't it? He was absolutely on fire, and people said, "Oh, you won't be able to stop him." It was all about him, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, and quite rightly so. At that time, he was on fire. He was knocking teams over for fun. My God, the size of the fella, quick as lightning, great with both feet, good in the air, and a big lump. You couldn't bully him. He was one of them that would be, you knock him, he'd bash your back. But I thought we played him perfectly, and that again was Terry's tactics. We sat very deep in the field at Highbury that day, which was unusual for us. It was normally quite a high press that we had. We kept it regimental at the back. That offside trap that we had was brilliant, and we were governed by the movement of the ball. So if the ball moved 20 yards up the field, we would move 10 yards with it, and that kept us compact wherever we were. And I just think, not just the teams in Division 2, but even the Division 1 teams that we played on the way to the finals, they struggled to play against us. They couldn't get their game going because we were tactically very up for the game.
And in that game, as we said, it was all about Cyril Regis, but all of a sudden, Bob Hazel, our big centre-half, he more than matched him and marked him out of the game, didn't he?
Yeah, Big Bob was, people might not realise, Bob was like lightning himself. He was very similar in shape and size, everything, to big Cyril Regis. He was a tough defender, great lad. He's from Birmingham, the big fella. But Big Bob handled him perfectly, and I think that, again, reading the game, getting a head start. And if Big Bob Hazel gets a head start on you, you don't win the race. And that's what happened that day. We frustrated the life out of West Brom and Cyril Regis. He was their star player. He was, again, brilliant over that period of time. But Bob handled him perfectly, kept him nice and quiet, and brought the game, really. It was very nip and tuck again. Could have gone either way.
Yeah, very, very tight game. And then we got the goal with about 18 minutes to go. It was a scruffy affair by Clive Allen, but a glorious goal as well, wasn't it?
That's right, yeah. Well, I was involved in the build-up down the right-hand side. Got a header into the box. Then it sort of broke free, and they had a chance to clear it, and Clive just really blocked the clearance, and the block went straight in the back of the net. It was intuition, really, from Clive. But that's what he was all about, in and around the box. He could make things happen, and that, recognising the quality that they had. I believe it was Robertson, the guy that was trying to clear the ball in front of Clive, and he just reached out, put a block on it, and the pace of the ball just ricocheted into the back of the net. And that was all that we needed. And from there, the last 20 minutes of the game was dig in deep, make it tough, and we give nothing away. We were like granite.
It was fantastic. I think it just, that 20 minutes seemed like about 4 hours to me. The clock end seemed to stuck, but
you should have been playing.
Yeah, at the end, great celebrations at the North Bank. We had incredible support there, didn't we?
Yeah, we absolutely did. It was brilliant because I've got some great photographs of that particular game, and more so the dressing room and the guys that were in the bath after the game. We had the window open, and the window showed the street outside. All the QPR fans walking by. We were hanging out the window. We were cheering along with them. It was like, wow, here we are, Queen's Park Rangers on the way to Wembley as a Division 2 team. It was an incredible atmosphere. The North Bank was on fire, probably more so than it's ever been because it's QPR. Never been an Arsenal fan. So it was wonderful. What a fabulous day that was.
Yeah, I was one of the people out on the street that day watching you hanging out. Now, the final itself, FA Cup final, QPR, the only time we got to the Cup final. And in those days, that was the biggest game of the season, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, this was, my God, when I look back as a kid in the northeast of England, from the early hours of the morning, the cup final would be covered. It would be the players at the hotel, leaving the hotel, en route from the hotel to Wembley, what they do when they arrive, walking on the pitch. It was a whole long, dragged out affair because this was the biggest cup final in world football. It was huge. And we were reminded of that when we were in the tunnel on the way out. One of the managers that was there looking after us, one of the Wembley officials, said, no pressure, guys. There's only 94 million people watching you today around the world. And it was like, wow, that's how big the competition was. And this particular cup final was like amazing. And coming back to the Clive Allen story, we were in the dressing room just before we were meant to go out into the tunnel to meet up with the Spurs players before we walked out. And Clive, still a young man, was in bits, and he broke down in tears and he was sobbing like you wouldn't believe in the dressing room. This is right before the cup final. And you'll remember that Terry took him off at half time. And that was pretty much, let's see how he goes first half. And he just didn't, it was such a big occasion. This was everybody's family, everyone was on this. The press, the media from around the world, everything on top of you. The biggest game in world football at the time, other than World Cup final. It was incredible, and the pressure was big. I thought Terry handled that very well and kept most of that away from us. But Clive, he broke down badly that day as a young man. And I look back and I think to myself, my God, he Queen's Park Rangers, Crystal Palace, Arsenal, back to QPR. It's like he'd had one of them sort of merry-go-round starts to his career, and fabulous players as he was. I thought that was a big telling point in his character, how he was. Very emotional man, great player. But it was difficult for him that day.
Now, the match itself, they take the lead through Glenn Hoddle. But we kept going, and you got the equaliser. It came from a long throw. So what do you remember of that goal?
I remember every bit of it. It's 40 years ago now. So when I'm telling the story now, it was a header from 40 yards on the volley. So I've exaggerated it a bit there, but amazing. I've got the video myself, obviously, with Stan throwing it in. Big Bob gets up there. What a leap and what a back header that is. And then I come ghosting in at the far post. First fullback to score in normal player in an FA Cup final. And from just inside the 6-yard box, right between Ray Clements' hands, and he was one of my heroes as an England-Liverpool player of the past. Great goal. And as I spun away to my right, all my family were up in the crowd there, right in front of me. What an experience that was. That was just amazing.
Absolutely. Then on to the replay, and they took the lead through a penalty. But after that, it was all QPR. We did everything except score, didn't we?
Well, I listen, this is a game, not just disappointment, because we had 2 penalty calls turned down that were cast iron. If we had VAR in them days, we would have come away with that, with a 3-1, 4-1 victory, because they were tired, they ran out of steam, and they were hanging on for a long, long period of time. They scored early in the game, and we hit the crossbar with John Gregory. We had chances. It was untold pressure coming from us. Set players we were always handy at that. And the 2 penalty appeals came from corner kicks that we had. And the referee, which there was a big, I forget the name of the guy, the ref at the time.
Clive White.
Yeah. There was a big inquest into him and his decisions, because people saw the same penalty incidents as we were experiencing on the field. We should have had a penalty, no doubt about it. But then were the days where the referee got his last say. Linesmen couldn't have too much input into decisions at that time. And it was a bitter pill. We went back to the Royal Lancaster Hotel, and my God, Jim Gregory was there to see us all in, and it was a lot of disappointment and tears. Families all gathered at the hotel there. And it was the end of an amazing journey. It was a short period of time from coming to Queen's Park Rangers after Crystal Palace with Terry. Amazing start in my Queen's Park Rangers career. I met so many fabulous people. The fans were great. They took to me fantastic. They lifted me up all the time. It was wonderful. And I'm so disappointed that we didn't deliver the cup final for them. I thought we should have won it.
Was, for you, scoring in an FA Cup final the highlight of your career, the highlight of your life, really?
Absolutely. First fullback to score an open player in an FA Cup final. I was a legend in my street in the northeast of England for doing that. I came up in a footballing community, a mining community, which had loads of footballers, and I probably wasn't the best footballer in the street, but I was determined. That's what got me a long way in my career. I was relentless, wouldn't give in. But playing in an FA Cup final at that time, 22 years old I was, playing at right back. Then I played centre back in the second game. And then from centre back in that game, we went on, I captain and centre back the following season, where we then won the second division title. Great players. My God, Simon Stainrod, Tony Curry, Jerry Francis that I played with over time. Some wonderful players. Clive Allen, what a goal scorer. You know, John Burridge and Peter Hooker, David Seaman. It was a privilege. Big Macca, Bob Hazel, Wixie. We had some wonderful players there. And the kids that had come through the ranks, like Warren Neal and Dorsey, Gary Warwick, fantastic players. Michael White, who came down from Man United. It was a wonderful feeling, because we all felt for each other. We dug in deep for each other. If there was a fight on the field, it wasn't 1 against 1. It was 11 QPR, because we stuck up for each other against whoever the opposition turned up. We were great spirit on and off the field. Terry made sure of that. His man management, the laugh, the giggles that we had off the field, but the professionalism that we had on the field of play, the organisation. We all knew the script. We all played to that script. It was fantastic. Queen's Park Rangers, over that period of time, was a wonderful club.
Absolutely. Just bring it up to date and just remind us what you're up to nowadays, Tel. You're looking very, very fit and healthy and tanned, I think.
Well, I've just come off the back of, I was I'm still out in Trinidad and Tobago. I run, as you can see, my Football Factory Foundation out here, which is bringing up some great youngsters. We've delivered 89 professional contracts from players that have come through my organisation. We've got another 69 on scholarships in the United States. I was just the manager of the Trinidad and Tobago national team. Lots of politics there. So after 4, recognising we've just coming through COVID virus and the issues and problems that surround that, I had 4 competitive games all the way from home, 2 wins, 2 draws, and they still fired me. So what the hell? On to the next. And still love the Caribbean. Whilst you're getting rain, thunder, storms, all of that bad weather back in the UK, I'm sat around the pool, enjoying a pina colada, bit of sun on my back. It's quite nice.
Well, finally, great talking to you. And it sounds as if you still love QPR as well.
Absolutely. That was where I had the best years of my life. I had a great time there. I was sad to leave. That was quite a story, actually, because I went into training one Tuesday morning and Jim Smith stopped me on the way in the door and said, listen, I need to speak with you. Went upstairs to his office. And there was a meeting organised with me with George Graham, who was the Arsenal manager. And of all places, I met him at the Target roundabout, where what is now McDonald's used to be a pub. And I met George Graham in there, and George obviously didn't realise that was a QPR pub. So within minutes, I had shitloads of QPR fans all round, shaking their heads and Terry, no, don't do it. And while I was in that meeting, remember the old mobile phones with the big antennae and the big brick? The phone rang, and it was Terry Venables, who just got back from Barcelona at Spurs. He rang me up, and I'm looking across the table at George Graham, and George is going, is that Terry? And I'm going, yeah, that's Terry. So I had 2 meetings with Arsenal and Spurs in the same day. But my heart was with Queen's Park Rangers, and at the time there was a transition at Rangers going on with a new ownership. And they weren't quite sure. And I think Jim wanted me to do the deal, and I did. So it was a disappointment, but again, that's football. Great club, Queen's Park Rangers. I've still got loads of friends that are supporters at the club. I keep in touch with a number of their sites. Love my time there. Wish I could do it all over again.